We all understand the importance of early childhood education, but our upcoming speakers will talk in depth about the benefits of early childhood education and how it impacts children later in life. Get ready to learn more about the early years, the benefits of early childhood education from our upcoming set of experts in this fireside chat. Please welcome Amber Hill, District PBIS Coordinator and Author, Columbus City Schools, and Kohila Sivas, Learning Success Coach, Fearless Learners by SuccessCodes.
All right. I am Amber Hill. I am the District PBIS Coordinator for Columbus City Schools, but I am also the CEO and founder of Epiphany Hill Enterprises. I'm an author. I published my first book, Jacoby, What Can I Be? And then my second book, Jabari, What I Love About Me. This is my 21st year in education. I have been in the early childhood realm for over 18 years, but now I teach adults to be just as great as I am. I have a bachelor's degree in pre-K through third from the Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. I have my master's in counseling from the University in Dayton, and so pray for me. I am currently doing my dissertation to obtain my doctoral degree from Walden University in educational leadership. I have been married to my wonderful Boaz, my husband, my best friend, James, for 21 years. I have 4 amazing boys, Jaden, Jabari, Jacoby, and Jabez. And I am also a NACE Award winner and a 5-star Step Up Quality Award winner. So if anybody that knows early childhood, you know those are great awards to obtain. And I am a member of the great sisterhood Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. And my wonderful partner right here is
Kohila Sivas. So thank you for being here and listening to us. So I've been in the education for over 24 years. I've been in every position, teacher, I did tutoring, and I also created my own learning success coaching methodology when I left 10 years ago. I left teaching because I think one of the speakers here yesterday said that you can't change something within it, you have to come out to find the solution. So that's how I was able to create the solution. So now I have over 50 teachers who are passionate about teaching, but they cannot teach in the system, who are also becoming learning success coaches so they can continue their passion as teachers. So I'm a mom. I have a best-selling book called Escape the Tutoring Trap, which explains the journey I took to become a learning success coach. And I have a TV show and a summit that is coming up this year. I would love to have any of you here part of that. So thank you.
So when we think about the benefits of early child education, research has shown that kids who are participating in early child education tend to be better prepared for kindergarten and other learning opportunities. So research also says, Kohila, that over 600 hours, can you believe that? Mm-hmm. 600 hours prior to going into a elementary setting that the kids need to be prepared for learning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so important.
So important. How many of our educators and our parents know that? That they don't even know the benefits when it comes to the social emotional, the cognitive learning, all the things that our kids you need to be successful in life.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So when we think about that, our youngest learners are like sponges. Yeah. Everything that we do, they are picking up and gravitating to it. So not only is early childhood so important, that it influences the brain.
Yes.
Any take on that?
Oh yeah, it's, our kids are like, they're subconsciously just picking up everything we're saying and hearing, and it's such an important years, those 5 years.
Yes, 90% of the brain, 90% of the brain is developed before kindergarten. So why are we not exposing our kids to early learning centers and pre-K centers to help them nurture and grow into those, to be whoever they meant to be?
Meant to be, yes, absolutely. So, but what's happening at our home is also very important in these 5 years, mm-hmm. right? But because of all the changes, our households have changed, and we are all wired to these machines, and we're in a new wave of parenting. So this overstimulation is what needs to be addressed. I don't know if the parents are prepared that are now able to control, balance, and found boundaries between these devices, because they're also on it too. They're also trying to figure out what's the balance, right?
Yeah.
So it does influence the brain when they come to these learning centers and their early education, how it influences.
Yes. So let's dive into like why early childhood is so important. Socialization. Our students, our earlier learning scholars need those opportunities, those spaces to socialize with each other, especially with COVID and new technology. Our kids are not exposed to opportunities where they can actually socialize, especially if they are the only child, so they might not have other peers around them. But it's so important to have create those space and experience for them to be able to socialize with each other.
Absolutely. So with the new age of socializing, I'm sure you have seen it, most of you have seen it, this is the way play dates work nowadays. They all bring their devices to your home. My son is 15, but still, even them, they're on their devices. I'm like, I thought you guys are getting together. Where's the getting together part? So these kids are learning a new way of socializing. So when they come to these centers, when they get first exposed, they need to detach from this situation and be with other people, little people, and manage themselves. I don't know if they're learning that at home and in this social environment that we are supposed to create before they even enter the centers.
Yes, and one of the things that is so important is communication in every facet of their life. So having those opportunities and those spaces where they can learn how to work together, learn how to resolve conflict, learn how to speak healthy to each other is so important, because we all know we all have somebody in our life, in adult life, that cannot communicate.
Oh yeah.
You got to be able to communicate in your office space. You have to be able to communicate effectively in your marriage as a parent. So why not expose them to those opportunities? Because we have so many kids that need. And I know one of the things that always drove me crazy in elementary land, when I go into a cafeteria and everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
I remember you when we was talking the other day, you was like, well, Amber, wouldn't educators know that socialization is important? No, because you have so many spaces and environments where our kids are not able to just have authentic conversation with each other. They are told to be quiet and eat instead of having that language. But also, language is important. They have to have opportunities to be able to utilize language, to be able to read and other things like that. I remember when I was not able to go to a pre-K setting. I started when kindergarten was only half a day. I'm telling my age, but I didn't talk, and I missed out on the foundational skills to be able to articulate what I needed. And my kindergarten teacher used to tell my mom, no, she's gotta have to repeat kindergarten. My mom said, no, she's not. But I missed out on some of those key moments because I just didn't talk. And it wasn't because I didn't want to, but I had a wonderful sister who was 15 months prior, older than me, that always talked for me. So I didn't have to talk.
Nice.
But if I was able to expose earlier and become more confident in myself, I would have utilized those skills.
Yes.
So socialization is so important in every aspect. And if we can nurture them to be able to speak and articulate and to communicate in a healthy way early on, then our world will be so much better. Because what do we always say? It's easier to fix broken kids and unhealthy behaviors than broken and healthy adults.
Yes, exactly. I just also want to share, even people who are coming new to the country, like for example, myself, I muted myself for almost 7 years when I came at the age of 6 because I was afraid to speak. Because and people just let me, I was unnoticed. So for me, it's a huge, when I see kids being on these devices, I just feel like how much it's going to create a wave of kids who will not know how to start a conversation, how to continue a conversation. So it's going to be, we're looking for like, it's going to be a big problem than what it was back then when I was young.
I know. It also, one of the benefits of early childhood education, it shows concept of cooperation. We have to be able to cooperate together, right? Learning to share, take turns in those environments is so important. How many times have you noticed kids who do not know how to take turns? And early on, oh, I could tell you many, many years of having to do that. When they first come into those spaces, everything is about me. I do not want to take turns. I don't want to do this. What about me, Miss Hill? What about me? But being in those settings and having educators nurture that and parents that nurture that will help them be successful later on in life.
Absolutely. So I think the interaction of taking turns and being involved, having an involved parent starts at home. I'm always going to bring the part about home because I know you're coming from the school side, but it's not to point fingers at the parents or anything, but I think the first teachers, our environment is home, right? So I grew up in an alcoholic family. I know how it affected me to grow up to be the person I am, and I'm still working through some of the stories that I've created, right? So these taking turns and cooperation with others and finding, where I fit, it all starts at home. So that interaction is so important before the centers.
Yes. And it also teaches respect.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that is a huge thing now. Respect, not only the value of respect for others, but respect for other people's belongings, respect for just the environment. Our kids need to be intentional of taking care of things, taking care of themselves. And I remember, and not only that, us as educators and also need to model that. I remember I had a young man that came in my classroom. He just did not respect anything. I like his peers, his belongings. But as our classroom environment, we provided that space where he was able to learn that skill. And then we modeled it, like he had to come every morning to give me a hug after he do his daily routine before he came into my room. And then he had to give my assistant a hug. But we modeled that, so now every time he came in, despite if he hit a child, despite if he threw a tantrum, anything, his peers started to show him that love and respect because they saw us do it. And then he started to learn that skill. When I come in, I'm gonna put my red folder in my red basket. I'm gonna hang my coat up and my book bag up in my cubby. I'm gonna say hello, give hugs. I'm gonna take care of my things and respect our space because it's a nice, safe space. But he learned those skills. If he did not attend my classroom, just imagine when he went off to kindergarten what that would have looked like. And that teacher don't have time with 28, 30 kids to teach that one child, and she might have multiple. So it was so beneficial to teach him that respect and that skill set because it will follow him later on in life, his tenure in school and life.
Yes, and again, it starts at home. And I'm going to say that if you look at, I did a few in Canada. I took my son across Canada on a driving trip, and we had such a great conversation. I talked about my life. I shared it about future, our values, what's important to him, because he was only, at the time, 10 years old. So, but nowadays we have kids on their own devices, and it's good that they're fulfilled with this, and they're learning as well. I'm not going to put down the devices, they have their place, but those boundaries have gone, and as adults we're not present with our kids. How many of us probably could be take that ownership. So being present and sharing these have gone. There's so many family time that are being missed. The opportunity to create these values at home, in the car, at the shopping centers. If you've seen it on the cart, right? Kids with their devices while the parents are shopping. But that would be the great opportunity to teach them about, look, the sizes of these containers, what prices are we buying at, why should we be buying this versus this. So much opportunity to teach, but we're leaving it with this device. So that's alarming, right?
Yes. And also teach teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And we need teamwork in every aspect of our lives. We cannot do anything by ourselves. There's no I in team. Creating those spaces in your classroom where the kids are able to work together, collaborate together. Like, look at me and you. We don't even know each other. We was able to put together something special for our audience, but we had to learn how to work together in a healthy way. I know, like, listening, cooperation, treating people equally is so important. And if we can nurture that and plant those seeds earlier, we will have some great human beings later on in life.
Yes, absolutely, and it starts again at home, and it will start with I'm in so many parenting Facebook groups and stuff, right? One of the things that I see is they complain about how their child's room is so messy, how they're not helping with the activities at home, but that's where the team actually builds the teamwork. You have this to do, I have this to do, delegate, right? But none of those things are now happening, and it's becoming a battle at home, and they're bringing those behaviors to these early education centers. Now then that goes into later, now we have kids who don't know how to function in life. Yes. So that's those are the kids I meet later in the years, right? So
yes. And we have navigated, as you navigate this space, I have seen elementary kids that don't know how to work together. They have playground, they can't play a game together. It takes them 15 minutes just to play kickball because they haven't nurtured and learned that skill because we're so much in isolation all the time. I know we have adults who cannot work and collaborate together, as adults, and that's sad because somehow we miss teaching that healthy skill some way along the way.
Early years.
Yes. And I know in our house, we always say, teamwork make the dream work. It takes all of us collectively to make our house function in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
So I love how you always connecting the home piece with the educational piece, which is so important in the early years. Mm-hmm. Resilience. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. It teaches resilience. I know as an early learner and them kids coming in, oh my God, all those tears. They Missy, I can't do this, Missy, I can't do that. And they can. And then we have so many parents that want to do everything for our kids, which is not bad, but it is because it teaches resilience, teach independence. They can be able to tie their shoe, learning how to zip up their coat, button up their coat, zip up their pants, open up their milk. All those necessary skills teach resilience. Our kids need to nurture that skill because, as you know, our kids are really having a hard time with adversity. They don't know how to handle and cope with things that is not in their control, or mom and dad can't help me because they never had those opportunities to experience how to go through adversity. In my class, they knew they not to say can't. We always do a lot of affirmations. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, we will say, I can, and then they repeat, do anything, I fail. If I fall, I fail. Mm-hmm. And because that's important. Failure is important. You learn from your mistakes, but creating those opportunities where they can fail is so important without them feeling bad. I know I do a lot of little, I'm always animated. I do a lot of little shout outs or breaks. And so if they got things right, we do the firecracker, or pat patches on your back, or kiss your brain. But if you get something wrong, that's okay. You'll get it next time, and that's okay. But our kids don't have that skill. So putting them in those environments where teachers can nurture that skill will eventually get them to be able to navigate adversity, which is so important.
Very important. And I want to talk about the fear and the anxiety that I see in older kids that I work with, this because I think especially, I'm sure you're seeing it, after the COVID and all these, lockdowns, kids are coming from being with their parents all the time. So now we're going to have kids who are going to have this problem of separation. We used to see that even before, but it's going to be even more because they've always been in the house. And then we also have this unknown virus that's out there that's going to get me. So these children coming to these centers, all the teachers who are there at the early education center has to, deal with a lot of anxiety. And I'm seeing it in all older kids too. They're all, and some of them are even to the point of depression because they don't know how to handle it. So that's also coming up for teachers in the early childhood to address. There needs to be emotional, social well-being has to be looked at before we start educating them. And
You gotta reach them before you teach them. Yes. And it also brings up confidence and self-esteem. Watching my youngest learners come in from day one and graduating, oh my God, it's so amazing just to see how much more confidence they are in themselves, which is so important with the self-efficacy. Sometimes our kids believe they cannot do the work. Sometimes our kids believe they can't do a lot of things, but it's our job to pull out their gifts and to nurture them and provide those opportunities to build up their self-esteem and to explore their talents and skills and things like that. When our kids, when my kids come in, we always say, I can, I can, I can make it to the top, I can, I can. Growing never stops. But we always ensure to build up their efficacy up in every aspect. And it's so important because if you build their confidence early on, no matter what anybody say, no matter what educators say to them in different spaces in their journey of education, they will always know that it's something inside of them. Nobody can take their gift away. Yes. I always tell my kids, you're cute and smart. You can't have one without the other. Don't never let anybody tell you can't do something. And always making opportunities to build up their confidence. I had a little girl named Anaya that could not spell her name, and it drove her crazy. She said, "Man, yeah, I can't say my name." But we created those environments where not only we spoke life into her, but her peers spoke life into her, and they end up making a song because I sing about everything, and it was so cute. It didn't have no rhythm to it, but they was like Anaya. That's the way how you spell Anaya. Hey. She eventually learned to spell that name. And once she did it, they was like, go Anaya, go Anaya, go Anaya. But they built her confidence up. Yes. So now she's able to try new things and want to learn new skills without having that fear, which is so important as she navigates the educational space and things in life. Yes.
I have to say shout out to you guys because I tried teaching a couple of times, as a substitute teacher into kindergarten classes, and after a class of that, I needed 2 days of break. So I admire you for all your singing and all. You bring everything to life, but that's why I work with older kids. But confidence. It's all about, as you said earlier, it's courage, right? It's courage to not only just win, what if everything goes wrong, also to fail. Mm-hmm. And we have to instill that in our kids, and that happens at home, because when they fall or when they do something, instead of just starting to get mad at them or blame them, let's look at what I could teach them at this moment. What is the teachable moment? And I also want to go into the labeling, right? We have so many labels that we give ourselves, and some of them we create. Like I'm a suicide survivor myself, so I've created so many labels that I'm still working through them to overcome and reprogram. And that's what my program is all about, is helping children not to go to that extent, So lack of self-worth, it comes from how, in the early years, how a parent dealt with something you've done. If I didn't get the right marks, my dad would say, "Are you stupid?" So I had this whole thing that I'm stupid. I used to use that word all the time until someone pointed out to me, "Do you know that you say this word all the time?" Now I'm aware, right? So the labels are so harsh on our children, and they come to me with so many different labels. These grade 12s, grade 8s. it starts at home, and it's something that the parents have to be aware when how they deal with situations. And yes, that's where the confidence comes from. If we don't have these labels, we're all confident. But the labels create stories, and that makes everything
That
different.
self-talk is so important.
Important, yes.
Yeah, positive self-talk.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you for being brave enough to tell us your story.
Oh, thank you.
That's courage. Thank you for that. And also teach us patience.
Mm-hmm.
Little people not only teach them patience, but teach us as educators. When you have 24-year-olds coming in, never been in a school setting, oh my God, you tend to learn with patience, but you also provide those opportunities for them to be involved in social experiences and providing those spaces where they can practice. That's the most important thing with early childhood. Practicing these healthy skills where you can be lifelong learners. I'm always going to emphasize that. Practicing and giving those experiences for them to practice. We just can't always tell. We have to give them opportunities to practice and fail.
Yes.
Because it will fail, you will come, but exposing them. I love where I'm teaching, because when they 3 and 4, everything is all about them. They want to answer every question. They want to shout out when somebody else is talking. They want to jump in front of somebody. They want your attention. But creating those opportunities. Or my kids knew when you sit on the carpet, crisscross like applesauce. If you want to speak, raise your silent hand. You have to wait before Miss Hill could call on you. And it's okay to wait. They need to learn that. Because when you go in the grocery store, you have to wait your turn. When you go into the next grade, you have to wait your turn. It's a lot of opportunities. They have to be patient enough to sit and wait. And our kids got to move.
Yes.
They got to move. But they want what they want when they want it.
Yes.
But teaching them how to wait your turn and be patient and value. My kids knew that they couldn't talk when somebody else was talking. I had that saying, all eyes on them, like, Miss Hill, why? Because she cute and smart, yeah. And same thing with their peers. When your peers is talking, they have a lot of information that needs to be dispersed. And you have to be respectful enough to hear the information. But if you talking when I'm talking, then you're not hearing the information, which is another skill that you need out here to be successful in this world. Patience.
Patience. And patience starts at
Home.
So you guys all could agree there's so many kids now who are feeling entitled, especially having a phone, which is their first entitlement. They don't think that they have to earn it, right? So, and then this immediate gratification because of the phone and the speed of the phone and everything gives them these dopamine hits. Now we are dealing with those kids in our classroom where we have to put up our hand, wait in turn, wait in line, and they're not coming with those skills. I'm sure you could address that. So that's why I say, going back to the home, this is what's happening at home. I'm not saying all the children are, but there are many children I see, they are just in the abuse of the balance and the boundaries between just the phone, ownership of the phone.
Yes.
Right, as they become into the high school levels.
And helping them understand is different sets of rules.
Yes.
It's different things. I say home rules, school rules. You can do that at home, but you cannot do that here. And helping them understand that is huge. Because they think, well, my mama said, or my daddy said.
It's what works here.
Yeah, but at home is less of you. It's more, you got more of your friends here. And it's different rules and different spaces in life, so you need to understand that and how to teach them how to navigate that.
Yes.
One of my favorite things about the benefits of early childhood, it exposed them to diversity. Oh, I love that topic because that's dear to my heart by being a Black woman. Our kids need to have opportunities to appreciate differences and spaces where they can appreciate different cultures, beliefs, and things like that. My latter years of being in the classroom, I love my classroom was United Nations. I had kids from all over Nepal, different parts of Africa. We had white, we had Black. Diversity was so nurtured in our room because at the end of the day, this is another skill they need because we have multiple races out there in our world, in America. And to me, racism is, to always tell people, racism is taught at home. Because when I see those babies in my space, they don't see color. They see a friend. They don't see anything different. They don't see your garments. It's different from mine. They don't see the hijab. Why are you wearing that? They don't ask those questions. It's adults that places those ideologies in our youngest learners. And that's what I love about them. They love whoever is in their space. And they appreciate that. And as a Black woman and as a mom, I try to be intentional to make sure that I raise my kids and I model that for my students, that you love anybody that come into your space, no matter gender, race, whatever it may be. They're all God's, God's gifts, God's children. So you need to love that. And making sure I'm modeling that. Because like we said before, they're like sponges. And I know I remember we was talking, I was like, one analogy, example of that is the Jackie Robinson, the movie of Jackie Robinson when he just got into the National Baseball League. And the young man, the little white boy, was so excited to see him because he was an amazing baseball player. But then when his father and and the other men, white men in behind him, start throwing out racial slurs, what that young man do? He started doing the same thing. So not only is it important to teach our kids how to be respectful and understanding everybody else's culture and beliefs, but we have to model that. How are we talking when we in our home? How are we talking when we in the car? How are we treating every caller that comes into our space? Kids know if teachers don't like them. Kids can feel that. So then if they can feel that, their peers can feel that, and their peers can also start isolating someone as well because of the garments. And I loved how we was talking earlier, how people are dressed costumes.
It was addressed as costumes instead of being their cultural outfit or this is what they wear. So, when I was growing up, I came here to Canada at the age of 6. Of course, I was like an alien back then in Canada. So I've had my fair amount of racism too, but I always accepted as I'm new here, so obviously it's going to be different. So the tolerance and acceptance always begins at home, and it begins with the words and the language that is used by the parents, because I was in a classroom with this kindergartner and we were washing hand, and I finished washing, and he said, "Mrs. S, your hand is still dirty." Because he didn't know the difference that it doesn't matter how much I wash, my hand's gonna be brown. So for him, he was innocent, right? But it's at home, he has not been taught that there are different colors of people and we're all people of same, right? So it's very important for parents to take that ownership. It begins at every conversation you have and how you treat others and how you respect. Costume is where we wear it on Halloween. So if you call it a costume, the child's gonna think, why is this person wearing a costume on a regular day? We don't have Halloween today. So it's not the word choice.
Yes.
Of how you explain a culture is so important as well.
And that's a necessary skill, especially in the world that we live in. The disparities in all aspects of life and appreciating the difference is so important. And a necessary skill to have as you navigate life.
And especially when they're young.
Yes.
Right.
And one of my favorite things about pre-K and early learning centers is that you are still able to have fun. School is not as fun as anymore. But the early learning stage, oh my God, the experience of just educating them in a fun and engaging way. School should not be boring. If we have these spaces where our early learners are coming in early on, and it's not enough fun and engagement in the classroom, just imagine what their ideologies and beliefs will later on in life. School should be fun at all levels, from pre-K to higher ed. But if we have those spaces where we don't value getting kicked out of school, that my friends are being mean, my teachers is mean, you planting those seeds early. That education is not for you, and that is not. We don't value your voice or you being in that space early on. And education is so important in everything that we do.
I mean, it should be introduced through play, right? At that age of early childhood. It should not be. I see parents who wants to start their kids writing perfectly at the age of 2. I'm like,
No,
no.
not development appropriate.
So there's some parents who are expecting a lot from their kids at early age too, but fun should be the first, right? Emotional well-being is the first before we go on to learn. So it starts at home. I guess I've proved that over and over again. It's because we are, like as a parent, I am my son's teacher first. I had him, and first 5 years, I know it's hard for some parents to dedicate those time with the child because we have to go back to work as a parent. But even just being mindful and creating a space and being present because of the world we live in is very important for a child's growth, and that's where it begins. And I think it's not a diversion of responsibility. Oh, he'll go to school and learn. He'll go to his pre-K or he'll go to this early childhood education and learn from the teacher, because there's so many things they need to have prerequisite before they get. And that's why the home life is so important. And some kids have, I also have to talk about kids who have home that are in bad situation as well. So they come with their own baggages to these places. So we have a group of students coming in, young people that are not having the essential, the prerequisite to be in a classroom, is what I'm seeing.
Yes. And when you say it starts at home, but what about, that's why early childhood spaces are so important, because you have so many that come from environments that are not healthy. But if they get those opportunities to have those experiences and exposures to healthy environments, they can still grow and they can still make it to be successful, whoever they was meant to be. So that's so important too. And my ideal would be, I wish that every 3 and 4-year-old could have an opportunity to go to some type of early childhood setting. That's my ideal, and that it will be free. Because as a parent of 4, it was expensive. It was expensive to be able to have those opportunities to send my kids to an early childhood setting. And then in kindergarten, a lot of it costs some places around the country, and then it's half a day. I would love full-day programs for early learners, especially for the ones who don't have those environments to start them up to be prepared for kindergarten and latter years.
Yes, absolutely. And then we're dealing with behaviors when they do come to the class, into any sort of gathering, right?
Yeah.
At what age? 3? Absolutely.
It starts early. The behavior starts early. So we also think about why early childhood is important. It's the holistic view. We have to encourage the whole child. We can't separate. We like to separate the academics from the social, emotional, and all of that. No, it's creating an environment where we're able to tap into the whole child holistically.
Through play.
Through play.
At the beginning stages.
They need that to be prepared for lifelong learners.
Yes. So what should happen is, this is how our classroom should, early classroom should look like, is, not individual learning, but group learning, so that they can model all these the skills that are needed for later. And if they're not coming with some of these skills we just talked about to the classroom, this gives an opportunity, a picture of this. But if it doesn't happen, we go to the next slide. This is what happens at the high school level. Now we have teachers dealing with students who can control their mind. They're out of control. But then who is to blame? Where does the blame begins, right? Then we go into this blame. Where do we fix the problem? So that's where we're sitting in with a lot of kids who do not know how to
regulate
themselves. They do not know.
Self-management, all those basic social, emotional skills that's necessary to be successful.
Yes.
Yes. So we only have a little bit of time
So
left.
what should we do?
What should we do? And one of the things that, first of all, what you key point that you hit on was parents are the first teachers.
Absolutely.
So of all the things that we have said, we don't never want to point the blame at parents for their kids not being able to be exposed. Because I know my first time early on as a 20-year-old about to have a baby, you wanted to do everything right. Everything right. I thought, through the theories of all my educational classes, if I put Mozart on my CD player, I'm aging myself again, and putting the headphones on my stomach every morning, every night, having my husband read stories, and my niece, who was 4 at the time, reading stories. I thought I was going to birth Albert Einstein. I did. I had his bedroom set up like a classroom. I bought every leapfrog educational game possible, but not knowing that my son was not interested in none of that. What do I do? So as a parent, be like, okay, I didn't expose my kids early, but they're struggling first grade, they're struggling in third grade. Is it my fault? No, it's not your fault. It's no parent handbook. So it's we just do what we know how to do, but at their time, they will continue. We can nurture those skills now, and they can continue to grow later on.
And especially the parents who are parenting now,
Yes.
They can't turn to their parents and ask for help because they don't know the stuff that they're dealing with.
These kids are different now.
They never had a lockdown. My mother wouldn't know about lockdown and how emotional, affects that, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have those, or how to control or set boundaries on a cell phone. Mm-hmm. We didn't grow up with that, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of parents. So it's not to point fingers. Like I that's why I left 10 years ago, because I didn't want to be part of that. But parents need education.
Yes.
So much about how to be a parent in this new age.
Yes, and supporting our teachers.
Yes.
Yep. You have, kindergarten have 28, 30 kids, barely a half assistant.
Yes.
So giving them the support and the tips they need to be successful as educators as well is so important.
Yes. Yeah, they need more training to deal with these students who are coming without these regulations in place and dealing with all the, being on a device, how to deal with that. That's all new for teachers as well.
Yes. So we are almost out of time. Do we have any questions for us in the audience?
I only want to say thank you for everything you do as a teacher and as a mother.
Can you come up to the mic so we can hear you, pretty lady?
I was just going to say thank you for all you do with your children and your students, because we need more teachers like you.
Oh, thank you. Anybody else got any questions for us? So this is one of my favorite quotes. Every child is gifted. They just unwrap their packages at different times. It is our responsibility as educators to be a champion to every scholar that comes into your space and pull out the gift that God has given them. It is not our job as educators to put those negative connotations or anything into our earlier learners, especially because, like what Kohila said, those things happen and they impact so many self-talk.
Stories.
It creates stories in our head that is untrue about ourselves. And it stick with us even as adults. I was told I wasn't going to be anything and I couldn't be anything, and look at me now, I'm getting an award. Yes. So words are very powerful. And as educators, we need to make sure that we are intentional and that we plant those beautiful seeds into every scholar and even ourselves as educators to build up our self-efficacy to do the work that we are called to do.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to touch on, the child future begins at home, and a parent has to take that responsibility. I see a lot of parents who I talk to, they try to say it's the teacher's fault, it's the system's fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it is your child. So you have to take the first responsibility to fix it. And when they fix that in early childhood, it becomes a vital place for a child if they are missing all of that to replace. Because as I said, I grew up at the age of 13. I thought I should end my life because I had more problems than anybody in the world, because I told myself everything was negative, nothing was going to work. And then when I did commit suicide and when I got back out of that is when I figured out that everything is solvable in life. You just have to spend time with it. There's an Albert Einstein's quote which says you just have to spend time with your problems. You're not smart. So we are in a crisis now, in a chaos of where children are extremely, extremely anxious, depressed. I have all these grade 12s. They don't know how they're going to go into post-secondary, what's going to happen, how to deal with their finance, how to deal with their emotions, how to find someone they could be partner with because of what happened past 2 years. So there's lots happening. So the early childhood education becomes that much more vital at this point in history. Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.